Yes.
I don't know where emotional intelligence or I don't know when you gain that or if you do. But like you look back at some of the choices you made in previous relationships and you're like, why did I ever think that was a good idea? And I don't mean like asking this person out. I mean, why did I think it was a good idea to give her that birthday gift? And I'm not even going to tell you some of
Oh, now I want
Some vacuum cleaners and scales, huh?
Yeah. It's like, here you go. Here's a toaster.
A toaster.
And it's not even stainless. It's white.
Oh,
So,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you thinking?
That's
I don't know.
fail.
I was thinking I want to get the fuck out of this relationship, I guess.
It's a good way to submarine it.
Yeah.
Submarine it.
A toaster seems like a low price to ruin a relationship.
Yeah. You were already on the outs if all it takes is a toaster.
It's just the final straw.
If it didn't
final
also
nail in
take the
coffin.
vacuum cleaner and the washer dryer combo, then welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel. I write for Salt Lake City Weekly, Orlando Weekly, and I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
And I'm Megan Kearns. I'm a freelance film critic, editor of Bitchflix, and I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
And my name is Evan Cree, and I'm editor for The Independent. I'm co-chair of BAFCA and co-author of your 80s movie guide to better living.
Yeah, you are.
And read it.
Yeah.
Well, I did the Evan there, though. That's what I was going for. And you're like, read the book. I'm like, no, you're stepping on
I'll take it.
You're
I'm
stepping on
trying
my
to promote
mojo.
I'm trying to promote his book.
Thank you. I haven't even been doing that.
I'll do it for you.
It was a good book. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I'm not just saying that because you're sitting across
You're
from
not
me.
just
Yeah.
blowing smoke.
No, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. So, to get back to the movies, or to get to the
Get
movies,
to the movies. I don't think we...
Start.
Yeah.
I do beg your pardon, everyone. So we got 3 movies on the docket tonight. I like to say on the docket
I like the document
because it sounds courty.
It's very, very litigious.
Yes.
Totes of fish.
We have Miss Americana, Les Miserables,
Oh, Jesus.
which I think is actually pronounced Les Miserables.
Oh, my God.
Les Miserables. But not,
More or
but
less
not,
miserables.
yes, but not that one. Not the famous Les Miserables.
Correct.
Oh, my
Not-
God. I can't, I keep cringing every time you
Not the less
pronounce
miserables to Victor Hugo.
Hugo. Victor Hugo.
Oh, my God. I might have to leave the room.
Isn't Hunchback of Notre Dame just actually called in French? It's like Notre Dame de Paris, which is the name of the church. It's like that's just what it's called, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's no Hunchback here. It's just a fucking church. Fuck you. Anyway, again, the third movie is, and I'm going to read the whole title because you know, we read the whole title for fucking Birdman, so we're going to do it for this
I
too.
love it.
Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, as opposed to the other Harley Quinn.
Yes.
I don't know.
Listen, I love that
This
title.
one.
No, it is a good
That
title.
title's amazing.
I think it's pronounced amazing. If you used to watch Happy Endings starring Casey Wilson.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No,
Oh, that
I
show would be
know.
up your alley.
I know. I've been told that a million times. If you love How I Met Your Mother, and if you love Friends, and if you love all those kinds of shows,
Oh, it's so
watch
much
it.
better than How I Met Your Mother.
Well, listen, How I Met Your Mother. Listen, we could do a deep dive on that because there are some gems of episodes, and there are some real massive
Dude,
problems.
you can just
with
take
those.
seasons 7, 8, and 9 and kick him in the ass.
Garbage.
I know. Okay, so on to the movies.
Really?
Megan,
Yes.
you remember how on
Dave?
one show we talked about how people mispronounce our names?
Oh God, yes.
We were talking about your last name, but did people
Yes.
ever call you Megan?
Yes. I've
What?
gotten Megan, 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 Meghan.
Megan?
I don't even spell my name that way. Yeah. You name it, my name has been mispronounced. It
All right.
boggles the mind.
It bottles the mind, eh?
Boggles.
Oh, silly me. That's
silly
Friends.
Dave.
That's Friends. Mind bottling. Doesn't Joey say that?
Oh yeah, maybe.
It's mind bottling. It's like a moo opinion. A moo point. Sorry. It's like a
moo
cow's
point.
a moo point. It's like a cow's
I
opinion.
love it.
So why don't you lead us off with Miss Americana, which, if I recall correctly, is about the Taylor Swift.
The Taylor Swift, yeah.
There is
Swift.
one Taylor Swift. T Swift.
T Swifty. I like that we're gonna put the in front of everyone. Like,
I've decided to become David Letterman for this episode.
the Dave Riedel,
The bird.
Evan
Yeah.
Green.
Did you like the Birds of Prey?
Yes.
Do you like the Les Miserables? So Miss Americana.
Yes, Miss Americana. So Miss Americana is a documentary about Taylor Swift, and it's directed by Lana Wilson, who also did one of my favorite documentaries after Tiller, all about abortion rights and abortion clinics. And it's so good. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's an incredible, phenomenal documentary.
I was gonna make a joke about the word tiller because it's also a piece of farm equipment, but
No,
I will not.
don't, 'cause
No, I didn't know it was about George Tiller.
Yeah, it was like Dr. Tiller was amazing.
Yeah.
And very tragically was assassinated because he provided abortions. So anyway, but back to Miss Americana.
But back to something perhaps less sad.
Well,
Is it about how she's lonely?
actually, it does get into that. You're not wrong. So,
Is it because she's kind of tall and that intimidates men, but also she's really, really successful and that intimidates
well,
men?
probably.
And then she writes songs about failed relationships, and then that intimidates people.
Well, what are you gonna write about? You're
I
gonna
know.
fucking write about how great everything is?
Right, you write about what you know. You write about what you've been through.
Heartbreak.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So the documentary covers a few years of her life, and it incorporates home movies, it incorporates concert footage, it looks at her songwriting process, media coverage about her, and a lot of the documentary is her being interviewed, but obviously I shouldn't say obviously, but we don't hear the interview questions, so it feels just like she's talking to the camera, to the audience, and it feels very confessional. It feels like a diary, and it's which I think is kind of a nice link to the documentary also, because she talks about how she feels like a lot of her fans grew up with her, and as she writes songs about her life and experiences, she feels like her fans are reading her diary, and that's
In a good way?
yeah, she made it seem like it was in a good way.
Not
like in an
if you don't
not
want
like in
people
an
to read your diary, then fuck.
Well, not like
You
in
picked
an
the wrong business.
Exactly.
Right.
Not like in an invasive, kind of stalkery kind of way, but kind of like I'm sharing my life and you're reading about my life. And
Right.
she's opening up about her life.
Yo
And
comprendo.
yes. Muy bueno. But yeah, and it's really, I find it fascinating seeing an artist opening up about their work and about their process, and we see the way she works with producers to write the melody and to write the lyrics and to tweak things, and that was great. But that's not really why I liked this documentary so much. What I really liked about the documentary is that it really gets into so many deep issues. She talks very candidly about how she felt from a very young age all this pressure to succeed, to be liked, to be a good girl, to do the right thing. And she felt that really, she didn't use the word trapped, but kind of trapped her in this image and all these expectations that people put on her, that she had to be a very particular kind of young woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes from there, where she ends up talking about gendered expectations of women. She talks about body image issues and how she doesn't say that she had an eating disorder, but she talks about like how she was incredibly thin and she, wouldn't eat a lot and she would be working out all the time. So she clearly had disordered eating of some sort. And she talks about body image issues. She talks about how women, over a certain age she calls it that they're put out to the elephant graveyard, and how that's why so many women artists that she knows have to constantly reinvent themselves to be shiny and new, to be consumed for audiences, because if you're not shiny and new, nobody wants you. But she talks about how women artists in particular have to do this in a way that male artists don't have to. They're not expected to do this. And it's just, she talks about politics. She talks about, because she had been silent for so long about politics, and she talks about why, because she said that, her agents and record label execs told her, don't talk about politics. Nobody wants to hear your politics when you're in country music. And she talks about how people don't want, like, people want girls and women to be nice and to be pretty and to be subservient and to not make people uncomfortable.
I was gonna say, this isn't about country music, because if you go out there and you're like, the flag, yay, then everyone's like, woohoo. But if you're, sorry, that was loud. But if you're a woman and you're in the Dixie Chicks and you talk about President Bush.
Exactly. That also is covered in the documentary too. And she said how she idolized the Dixie Chicks and, you know, how horrible, obviously, they were treated once they did.
Yeah, that
speak
never
out
would
about
have
it.
happened to a group of men.
No,
Never.
of course
no
not.
fucking way.
Of course not. People might have been pissed for like a hot second, and then it would have been over, and they would have moved on.
Oh,
and,
for sure.
And they
These
wouldn't.
bitches got to know their place,
Exactly,
motherfucker.
and they wouldn't have called them stupid if it was men, and they, you know, they would have been like, "Oh, that's just guys being guys speaking out," and you know, but because they're women, you know, they're stupid and they're sluts and they're, you know, every other.
That's what I think of when I think of
name.
Dixie Chicks. I think of sluts. Oh boy.
But yeah,
Yikes.
That was said ironically.
Oh my God. Yes, definitely. But she talks about what really galvanized her to speak out about politics was Marsha Blackburn running for Senate, who's an incredibly conservative Republican. And she said that she was so horrified that Marsha Blackburn and other Republicans didn't want to reauthorize VAWA, the Violence Against Women's Act, and how they didn't support gay marriage. And she was just appalled that a woman would be against fair pay for women, and that really made her want to speak out. And she started speaking out about politics and her support of Democratic candidates in Tennessee. And she said something really interesting about how she loves her home state, but she doesn't want people to think that these kinds of political views represent Tennessee. She's like, these are horrific views, and I don't want my state being associated with that.
Yeah.
And I thought,
I just became a Taylor Swift fan.
I know. I was like, I love you. I'm like, you're talking about feminism. You're talking about human rights and social justice. And, you know, but the documentary also talks about all the ridiculous backlash she got. And it talks about the infamous Kanye West MTV Music Awards.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Stage incident. You can go ahead.
No. I'm asking, is that what the one? Because wasn't there like a follow-up thing?
Well, there was, yes.
Yeah.
So the first thing was that she won the award for like video of the year or something, and he comes on stage and he's like, Beyonce had the greatest video of all time. And she was 17. Taylor Swift was 17 years old. And she talks about how she heard people booing, and she didn't know at the time they were booing him. She thought they were booing her. And she said, as someone who's always craving, you know, adoration and accolades from people, and, you know, and is essentially wanting to be a people pleaser, this was horrifying for her to be on stage thinking people are booing her.
Yeah.
And she said that she had to step away for a while, and it really changed the way she viewed her music and herself. And she really had to build herself back up again. And she realized that she didn't want to just be making music and doing things because that's what she should be doing, or to you know, please other people's version of what she should be. And then later, yes, there was the second Kanye incident where he sang about her and he called her that bitch and said that he would fuck her, could have fucked her or something. Like this just sexist, misogynist, gross shit. And she talked about that too. And it just... like, I already like her. I mean, I'm not like a huge fan, but I already liked her music. And this just made me like her as a person more, because it really showed like all the shit she's had to go through, like as far as like backlash, they were showing, they show interviews and like commentators talking about how people don't like her and how she's annoying and how she's fake, and people on social media saying these kinds of things. And it's just, she's just been, you know, inundated with a barrage of insults, as, you know, many women artists, you know, face that barrage of horrifying commentary. And I just was so impressed with how she was able to, you know, kind of overcome that, but also to go deeper as a person and to put herself out there so fearlessly, and to put out her stories and her emotions, and to pour herself into her writing. And she said that she realized that she can't control anything that happens to her. She can't control anything else, but she can control what she writes. And that's an incredibly powerful statement, whether you're an artist or not. And I loved that. And I loved everything that she's talking about. with all the expectations, these gendered expectations of women and societal pressures that artists put on themselves, but also that the music industry, as well as the media and just society in general, places on women.
Yeah.
These, horrific double standards of, toxic beauty standards and, how women should shut the fuck up and, shouldn't be disruptive and shouldn't, make, anyone but particularly men uncomfortable. It just... Yeah, she's just going so deep into so many things is that it transcends mere songwriting and artistry, although those, of course, are so integral to the documentary, too. So it was great. I really, really liked it.
You sold me. You spoiler pieced me into it.
I definitely, Dave, want to...
Swifter pieced you into
I
it?
swiftered you.
You Taylor pieced me into it.
I definitely want to hear your thoughts on it, being the music aficionado that you are.
Well, I don't know about aficionado, but I can read No. No, I and this is going to be a strange statement coming from a guy who interrupts people a lot, but I really think that most men would be better served by just shutting the fuck up.
Thank you.
I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Not the men I know, of course, because they're all amazing. I mean, not all men.
Oh, I can't believe I didn't talk about this. Also, she talks about her sexual assault case.
Oh, when
she went
the
to
photographer?
court. Yes, and she talks about that. And
I thought that was fucking awesome when she was like, no, fuck this guy.
Yes. Well, so that's so fascinating, too, because she says that victory felt hollow because even though she won, the process is so dehumanizing that it's just it's an empty win. And then there's footage of her speaking to the crowd, this massive crowd at this concert that she was performing at, and she says, this is on this day a year ago I won my case, and people believed me and I won my case. She's like, but all I can think about are all of the people, the women who have not been believed. And she's like,
yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you've ever endured that. And she's like, because if people hadn't believed me, she's like, I don't know what I would have done and I don't know what my life would be like. And it just, like, I was just like sobbing. I'm like, oh my God. Like, yeah. And she said that also galvanized her to be more political and more vocal. And she's like, I don't care. She's like, what the men in my life, whether they're related to me, whether they work with me or work for me, she's like, I don't care. She's like, they're never going to understand what I had to go through. And she's like, and she's like, I'm going to speak out about this. And I was just like, damn, good for you. So yeah, it was just great.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on that note, I mean, I don't know what women go through, but I do know, like,
it's a lot of hell.
Well, I know. No, and what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that, like, there is always some asshole, or lots of assholes, who are like, oh, how bad could it really be? And it's just like, you know what? Just let somebody...
You want to know?
Once a day, pinch your ass without your permission.
Yep.
And let's see how long before you go insane.
I was going to say, you want to know, talk to any trans person. Like, I've heard that is a big thing for trans people, is that they've seen both sides. They've been treated as both, and they really have seen the starkness of the realities of, living as a man versus living as a woman, and how very different the experience is.
Very different.
And
Absolutely.
then throw all the fucking transphobia on top of that.
Oh my God. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, not even to speak to that.
Right. Of course. The misgendering and the stereotypes and the hate. Oh my God. And the fucking bathroom issues. Good God. Who fucking cares?
What bathroom issue? Jesus. I can't even think about that without getting super pissed off.
Exactly.
So let's move on.
Anyway,
I mean, this is not a political show, although sometimes it seems
we do
like
get
it
political
could be.
on this show.
But film is political. All art is political.
No, I'm not. No, don't fucking take out. You like. I'm not.
I'm just excited.
Right.
Look, we're all
I know wants to hear what we think as millennials.
Oh my God, you just said his name. I am gonna fucking bleep that, and I'm not even kidding. So here's, in case you haven't figured this out, listeners, 291 episodes in, is that what this is?
291.
We're all super fucking to the left. So okay, there we've come out. Moving on, less miserables.
Yes.
Nice segue.
Good segue.
Les Miserables.
Yeah.
Yes, finally.
Oui. C'est un bon film.
We? You don't say.
Yeah. I watched it last night. It really It really hooks me.
It's great. This is so
It's very
great.
it's very atmospheric. It really sucks you in. It's one of those kind of like one long horrible day kind of movies.
Yes.
Like it's this guy who is a cop who moves to Paris and becomes part of this kind of street task force kind of unit. And he's got two other guys that he's riding with, and it's his first day. His name's Ruiz, and then there's Chris, and then there's Guada,
yeah.
Guada is the other guy, and yeah, it's the three of them riding along, and just the fucking crazy shit that happens to them over the course of like a day, and then after all that, it like the second part, the riot and all that stuff is later, right? It's got to be like a few days later at least.
It seems like it. Yeah, it seems like it's not long after, but maybe like a couple days, maybe a week. Yeah,
Right.
Not more than that.
Right. So yeah, it's very atmospheric. It takes place in this, very specific neighborhood that's they mention the fact that it's, it was the area that Victor Hugo lived and worked
Yes.
and wrote in.
Montfermeil.
Yes. And so, it kind of has a very like rough around the edges, very working class kind of, rough and tumble reputation.
Oui.
Yes.
and of course, shouldn't come as a surprise. And I don't say this. I say this because of societal institutional limitations. It's of course populated with many people of color too.
Right. Many of which are Muslim.
Yes.
It's predominantly a
Yes.
Muslim area. So there's a few different elements to the racism here. There's the like religious racism. There's the religious prejudice. There's the racism. There's there's the classist bullshit.
Yes.
Not even that the cops are anybody that wealthy, but they just look down on these people. The Chris asshole. Like
Which of course he's the white dude.
yeah,
so
he's
of
the white
course.
dude, and then. So he's just this horrible fucker to these kids.
Jesus.
And then he goes home,
He is
and
a
then you see
fucker.
that he has two kids and like another one on the way, and you're like, oh, so this is how you treat other people's kids.
Right. But it is interesting because he has two daughters, and I'm like, oh, he's probably shitty to them too, like in
Probably.
different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I became a feminist when I had a daughter, so I don't have any daughters.
Yeah.
So I'm not a feminist, is what I'm saying. I'm just
You
kidding.
are.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
At
know
least
how
an
you.
ally.
I don't know how you. Well, yeah, that's better.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be a woman, so I don't know if I could be a feminist. But
I mean, different people have different opinions on that. Some people think that if you're a cis male, you can't be a feminist. Other people are like, of course you can. But I would say,
I'm fine with being an
yeah, I was gonna say you can say you're a feminist ally if you don't want to say you're a feminist. Either one works.
I don't want to be presumptuous, I guess, is what I'm saying.
But that sensitivity goes a long way. so.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
But these guys are. I mean, these guys are dicks, especially
Right.
Chris. But even Guada, who is a black man and
a Muslim.
he's a Muslim, and it's so fascinating that he goes along with Chris's shenanigans
Right.
and endorses
It's his neighborhood.
them.
He grew up
Right.
there, and he has a
Yep.
way of talking to the people. There's a scene where
Yes.
they're looking for this kid Issa, who we find out has stolen a lion cub from the circus, and the gypsies are really
What?
pissed off about it.
Oh my God.
No, gypsy. That's a slur.
Yeah.
What do we call them? The circus performers, I guess.
You could call them Roma.
Yeah. They are
Or the circus
pissed.
performers. Right.
Yeah,
But they
they're-
are called the G word, which,
They're pissed, obviously, that their lion has been stolen, and they
Yes.
show up this housing complex threatening violence with like a
Yes.
mob of them. And so the cops find out that the lion's missing, and then it turns out this kid Issa, who's always getting into trouble, it seems. We see him earlier in the movie when they're just arriving at the police station for their day of work, and he stole a bag of chickens, and his
Yes.
father is there like yelling at him and throws a shoe at him, and it's just
oh, it's horrible.
yeah.
Dead chickens?
No, live chickens. He
Live
stole a
chickens?
bag
He
of
stole
live chickens. Yeah. He's not. He's kind of a delinquent. Like, I hate to say it, like he is always getting into trouble. What happens to him is horrible and not in any way justified. What
Well-
happens is they figure out that he's the one who has the lion cubs, so they go to apprehend him, and they chase him out of the soccer game. And all the kids that are there at the soccer game chase the cops down and start throwing, bottles and rocks and everything as they're trying to arrest Issa. Also in the process, what's the character's name again?
Guada?
Guada is using pepper spray, and it ends up getting in his eyes, and so he's kind of like fucked up with like pepper spray in his eyes, and he's like driving the car, and they corner the kid, and these kids are throwing bottles, and then he's
you know where this is going.
Guada's got the what do they call it, the gun that shoots the non-lethal bullets, but like the pepper
rubber bullets, or the bean bag.
No, they have a name for it.
I forget what they call it. Yeah. Anyway, Issa starts to run away. He shoots and then hits him in the face.
Oh.
And then he goes down, and they're not sure at first if he's dead. But all the kids saw it, and this other kid who has a drone in the neighborhood taped it and then flies the drone away.
Because that kid is videotaping women or young women getting naked, which is gross. But his drone serves a good purpose.
Yeah, so then they're like, oh, fuck. Like, these kids saw this happen, and there's no video. So now we have
to kill all these kids and get the drone.
Well, he's like, now, so Chris and Guada are like, we need to get this. And Ruiz, he's the new guy on the force. You can tell he's the guy who is like, let's do procedure, trying to be like the best. Like, they're all wearing like vests and like plain clothes, basically.
So no one knows they're cops.
And he puts his police armband on anytime he gets out of the car, so people know that he's a cop.
Yeah.
And he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to meet somewhere in the middle. Like, he's trying to be the better person. And then these just other two guys, mainly Chris, are just not letting him and being like, you can't be like that. You can't apologize to that lady. You need to have a fucking attitude. You need to be mean to people. Otherwise, you're not going to survive in this. And so their thing is like, throw the kid in the car. We need to go get that drone footage. Even though the kid his face is like huge and swollen.
He's
bleeding. They don't know if he's going to die or not. And they're more concerned about getting the video. And Ruiz is like, well, we need to get this kid to a hospital.
Right. And call it in. And yeah. The other thing that I find too, thinking about Ruiz, is that Chris is also racist to him too.
Yes.
So
they calls him, he's got greasy hair. You're like, oh, is your hair always that greasy? Or do you put like motor oil in it or whatever he says to him?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a very French thing to say. No, it's just like, do you put the motor oil in it?
Some of the jokes between the characters very much have that dry kind of French sense of humor to them.
But also the kind of, there's the French humor. There's lots of different types of French humor, but there's one in particular where there's just an undercurrent of nastiness to it in a way that's very particular to the French.
Yeah. I mean, so it's about this like horrible day of them figuring out how the hell are we going to get this footage, and Ruiz is kind of dragged along through this, and how is he going to do right by the kid? How's he going to do right by the people in this neighborhood? Which includes a couple of different characters. This one guy who's named the mayor, and he seems to run the housing complex that a lot of these people live in. And there's other guy named Sala, and he is an ex-con who has become very religious, and he runs like a sandwich place or something like that. He runs
a halal sandwich
like a halal kind of sandwich place. And so the kid with the drone runs to him, the sandwich Sala, and it was like, keep me safe in here. So everyone kind of converges on the sandwich shop, which is like the cops and their cronies, which like they have their own criminal guys in their back pocket who back them up. There's the mayor and his people from the housing complex, and then Sala and his people. And yeah, it's a very tense situation where you think like it's all going to go down in the shop. And Ruiz pulls Sala aside and is like, let's talk about this. And he kind of like works out a solution where like he does end up getting the footage back, and they let the kid, they don't even take the kid to the fucking hospital. They're such fucking assholes.
Yeah, Ruiz goes to like he gets away from the other two cops and goes to like a
pharmacy and gets like bandages and is like trying to blot the kid's face.
Yeah, but going to a pharmacy in France is like going to a hospital, so you know. You can't believe what you can get over the counter in a French pharmacy.
The thing is that like at the end of the day, they bring the kid back. They haven't taken him to a hospital, and Chris, the asshole guy, is like, you fell. That's what happened. You're not going to tell anybody anything about this.
Oh, we haven't even talked about the guy putting him in the lion cage first.
Oh, yes, that's right. We forgot about the. Sorry, I missed that. So they get a call on the radio. There's a lion cub in the park because the lion cub got loose. They get the lion cub and they take the kid. They bring them to the circus guys, And the circus guy is like so happy to get his lion. And then they're like, well, this kid's here and he did it and he's going to apologize. And so the guy's like, okay, well, let me take you over here. And then he brings him into the fucking lion cage and sticks him in front of the lion. And the lion like gets in his face and is like snarling and clawing at him. And the poor kid pisses himself.
And then they laugh at him for that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that I would have the same reaction.
Yeah, that's a pretty normal reaction.
Yeah. But, obviously Ruiz is watching this and he's getting really pissed off. Like, this is so fucked up. He has a gun pointed at the circus guy and it's like, let this kid fucking go or I will shoot you.
My God.
Yeah. It's a very tense movie.
Yeah,
There's
this
a lot of
movie
tense
is so
moments.
tense. From the opening frame to the closing frame, this film is so tense.
Yeah. And so what happens is, so all this stuff goes down. Let's say a few days, possibly a couple weeks goes by.
Yep.
They're driving their car through the neighborhood patrolling, and there's kids with water guns, and they come up and start shooting them in the car with the water guns and getting them all wet. And it seems like there's a lot of kids roving around in like hoodies doing stuff that seems like it's going to be suspicious. And then what happens is they kind of like, the kids box them in and like shoot fireworks at their car. And so they get out and run into a housing complex to chase after them. And then all these other kids who are like wearing hoodies and masks throw shopping carts down the stairs and pin them down and are shooting fireworks at them and throwing bottles and rocks at them. And then what else did they do? There's one kid, the one kid, Issa, who they beat up, has like a Molotov cocktail that he's literally ready to hit them with. And it just keeps escalating, like the violence, and like it's a horrible situation. Chris gets hit in the head with a bottle and is like bleeding on his head. And like,
yeah, Ruiz is like begging Issa to put the Molotov cocktail down.
And actually, that's where the movie ends.
That last shot is devastating.
Because Ruiz has the gun and he's pointing at Issa, and Issa's got the Molotov cocktail. It's lit, and he's like, just put it down. Like, put it down. He clearly does not want to shoot this kid, but he's like, I can't get hit with that. Like, we're pinned down in a corner with nowhere to go. It ends in that moment. And to me, I don't know. This is my interpretation. It just feels like in this neighborhood, it is always going to be like this. There's always going to be cops. There's always going to be kids. There's always going to be clashing. It's just always going to be like this. There's always going to be someone there who's an authority figure who's looking down on these people. They're always going to kind of be at odds. It's just this never-ending struggle between the haves and the have-nots. That's what I took away from the ending.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a spot on commentary about it and interpretation. I mean, they also make references to the 2005 riots, and talking, and they reference, it's no coincidence the film is called Les Miserables because they, not only is it the town that Victor Hugo wrote in, but they talk about, Victor Hugo, and they talk about the kind of parallels to it. And also, I think it's interesting that, I mean, it's horrifying, but it's interesting that Issa gets shot in the face because it's very much like Gavroche, who got shot in the face in Les Miserables. So there's definitely lots of parallels talking about how this is a continuing cycle and it just keeps happening over and over and over again, and how people who are oppressed and marginalized are going to rise up and revolt and rebel and, speak out and sometimes take violent action in order to be heard and to assert their humanity and their rights.
Yeah.
And they're constantly being, pushed down and oppressed by systemic, racism and, brutality and I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. That final shot is just so heartbreaking, but so gorgeous in that, like, Issa's like framed by black, and it just kind of like winks out almost like a flame going out or like blinking your eye, and it just it's gorgeous. It's horrible, but it's gorgeous. But yeah, there's also a lot of this keeps coming up. Interestingly, the film also, I think, is so much about toxic masculinity too.
Yeah.
Overtly as well as, subtextually, but because Chris says something I think very telling to Ruiz when he says, or maybe it's Guada, now I'm not sure, but it's one of them who says we have to be all Rambo'd up like this because, you know, we have to go into places all aggressive and hard because this is the only way people will respect us. And that's just...
I don't think that's true.
No, it's so
No,
not. And
it's not.
And it's clear, the film clearly shows that because when Guada talks to people, he doesn't talk to them that way. When he talks to people in the community, he talks to them for the most part, you know, more calmly, and especially Ruiz does that too, where he talks to people like they're humans, and he accomplishes far more than Chris does when he's just, you know, being violent and being gross. And Chris he also sexually assaults a woman at a bus stop,
Jesus
like a
Christ.
teenage girl. She's not even a woman, a teenage girl at a bus stop. So yeah, it's just, this film is beautifully awful. Like, and I mean that in the best possible way. Like, it really shows these horrific issues and how they just keep continuing.
Chris is one of the writers. I was just looking at the credits. The guy who plays Chris is one of the writers. Interesting.
Oh, you're right. That is interesting.
Oui.
Good pickup.
Thank you. I'm good for something.
You're good for a lot.
Ah.
Yeah, but this is, I believe, Ladge Lee's. He co-wrote and directed this, and I think this is his directorial debut. And good God, what a fucking debut! This film is just stunning.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
not
it's really
sweet.
good.
yeah. Well, I have to see the film that was the French submission for Best Picture at the Oscars when it wasn't my love, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So.
Ah.
But yeah, this film is great.
Okay. Well, I mean, you spoiler pieced me into it. This is a
Yeah,
theme.
2 for 2.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And I want to apologize to you guys for asking you to watch Suicide Squid, which is the Patreon exclusive audio, because I didn't do you any favors this week.
No.
But speaking of Suicide Squid, let's move on to Birds of Prey and the
Yes.
Fantabulous. Wait a minute, hold on.
Emancipation of one
One
Harley,
Harley
Quinn.
Also, Kevin Smith's daughter's name, which is weird.
Yes.
Now that I know a little bit about Harley Quinn, this is a little weird.
I mean, people are obsessed with her as a character. And she has a fascinating character, very complex.
Yes, no, I agree. I just think, given all the complexity she has, it's an interesting thing to bestow upon your child. That's all.
It's an interesting choice,
Yeah.
yes.
Interesting.
Yes, interesting covers modicum of
This is kind of like
commentary.
the Bugs Bunny version of interesting. Monsters are such interesting people. So anyway, Birds of Prey. Yeah. Intentional mispronunciation. Come on.
It is your thing.
I had some fun. I will say there are some moments, more than one, 3 or 4 or 5 perhaps, where it's just like, I think this would do a lot better if it moved faster.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to be the one who gushes about this film. I loved this. I thought this was a tremendous amount of fun.
Oh, it was fun.
I thought the writing was really good, especially for an action film and for a comic book film. And
Yeah.
I thought there was great camaraderie amongst the leads and co-leads. I thought the acting was good. The cinematography by Matthew Libatique, good God, was amazing.
He's a good shooter, that guy.
I love that guy.
He's gonna go places.
He sure is. I mean, I think Kathy Ann, the director, did a fantastic job. I just thought this was great. But the one issue I will take with the film is that, and this is probably my biggest criticism, is that I wish it had been shorter. And not because I wasn't enjoying it.
It's not super long. It's only like an hour and 49. Well,
an hour and 49 minutes.
an hour 49, and that includes your closing credits. So.
Right, but it does. I mean, like, I think for in a lot of ways it's paced quite well, because for a lot of the film, I didn't feel like it was moving. Like, I mean, I felt like it was moving. Like, I felt like it was moving at a good clip, and then it kind of peters out a little.
Here's where the first time I was kind of like, nah, I don't know about this. Is it's one of those time jump movies, Evan. So it's just like it's all over the place.
Yeah, very nonlinear.
And it's got
which I liked.
No, I'm fine with that. And
if it's done well, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I think it was done well.
And it's largely done well, but there are a couple where, and this is another thing that happens in action movies a lot if you're doing the time jumps, you're nonlinear, etc., is you stop in the middle of an action scene and then you go somewhere else that is not an action scene. And the first time they do that, Quinn's been, I don't remember whether she's been arrested or some shit has gone down, and she breaks into the police station to get this kid out who's got this diamond that everybody is looking for. This kid has stolen this diamond and swallowed it because she's a little pickpocket.
But then it backs up.
But then so they shoot all like, and she's got like one of those it's like a beanbag gun, you know. And so she shoots all these kinds of, and then she's like, "Wait a minute, we should go back." And then it literally winds back through the like everything you saw up until this one point when Harley Quinn is like being surrounded by all these dudes, and she's literally waving like a white flag, and then she says "parlay," which is kind of funny. But then there's just a very long. There's just a lot of exposition there. There's like I feel like they're in that place, whatever story they're telling, for like 12 to 15 minutes. I could be wrong. It just felt very long. And some of the jump backs like that where Harley Quinn's like, I should tell you what happened before. They just seem to take forever, you know?
Huh.
And I almost wonder, and this is a terrible idea given that you're introducing all of these characters, think if you just should have done this, linearly. If you like begin with Mary Elizabeth Winstead's family getting murdered, and then all that kind of stuff.
I actually disagree.
I'm not saying it is better. I'm saying.
Well, listen. I'm saying I disagree. I'm saying I don't think it would have made the film better.
Oh, you're probably right.
Thank you. I like to think so. I think jumping right into the action for me grabs me much quicker than going in a linear fashion.
I do too. And I think in this what I'm saying is it just seems like, when they break away from the action, because the action scenes for the most part are really well done.
So good.
And especially that scene in the police station is great.
It was so well choreographed and executed. Yeah.
So to leave after she fires the gun at that first cop, it's like, oh, come on. And then to do it again, it's like, oh my God. So there's that. But I also would have liked it. I don't know what the comics are. I know that she and the Joker broke up. I would have liked it if she had killed him. That would have been great. But she doesn't. Instead, she blows up Axis Chemicals, which, why not?
Sure.
But, yeah.
Because that is for those who don't know, that is the place that her and the Joker fell in love in Suicide Squad.
And she literally
put herself in a vat of chemicals to prove her love to
which
him.
I guess is why she's pale. I don't know. Is that the indication there that the Joker does not paint himself? He is actually white like that.
That he's pale, yeah.
See, I kind of prefer the Heath Ledger version.
That he paints himself.
Yeah, that he's just like,
agree.
yeah,
I
that
like
he's
that
just
too.
like a guy who's like, and I'm not even going to put that much effort into it.
Right, just like slap,
Yeah.
slapping it on.
But the gist,
Willy-nilly.
the gist is, so everybody's is looking for this diamond, which belonged to Mary Elizabeth Winstead's family, who was
But you don't
killed.
know that until
you don't.
later in the film. Yeah,
And it doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters.
Oh no,
but
I
it
just
doesn't
mean
really
I
matter.
kind of like that we don't, because Mary Elizabeth Winstead, when she's introduced, is no one knows who her like who she is or what her identity is.
She's just killing people with a crossbow.
Yeah, she's just killing people left and right, which is kind of awesome.
All
And
right.
she's a badass.
Yeah.
Like she straight up kills like 4 or 5 people in a restaurant, and another cop on the scene, Rosie Perez is one of the cops, and another cop thinks it's like multiple assassins, and Rosie Perez is like, it's just one person. And so you're like, who the fuck is this person killing everybody? Who is this badass?
And it's
then
Mary
you find
Elizabeth
out,
Winstead, whose family was murdered by, a bunch of goons. And then she kills all the goons who killed her family later as the Huntress.
She's on a revenge spree.
And this is really cool. There's this bit in the movie where she's trying to decide what her name is
oh my God,
or whatever.
That's great.
And then there's this moment where it cuts to her in like a cheap hotel room, and she's practicing saying, "I'm the Huntress" in front of a mirror.
And
it's really funny.
Yeah, it's like, they call me
the Huntress.
Huntress. No, it's just Huntress.
Right, Huntress, right. So,
I know you want to add the.
I know. I didn't do that one on purpose. So there are lots of really good humorous moments like that.
Yes. Or like the breakfast sandwich sequence. There's this great kind of loving, like romantic, sexy way of shooting this breakfast sandwich that Harley Quinn is like
dying
desperate for. And then
Ode to the McMuffin.
Yeah, kind of, but better, way better looking. And then it gets essentially, there's a chase scene and it gets knocked out of her hand.
She
and
keeps
she's
stuffing it in her shirt, which is really funny.
It's so great. I love it. And it ends up falling on the ground and she's devastated.
Yeah. But then all the people who are responsible for it get killed except for Rosie Perez. So, the thing that I kept thinking of though, and if you've seen your Hudson Hawk, him trying to get that goddamn cappuccino, which is like the whole, it's a whole thing in the movie. It reminded me of that. And I wouldn't say not in a good way, but not in a bad way. It's just whatever.
Yeah.
So basically the whole movie is just about trying to find this diamond that this kid's got, and then Harley Quinn decides, I'm going to take the kid and I'm going to...
Well, that's because everybody wants her dead.
Everybody wants to kill her because now that she and the Joker have broken up, she's not under the Joker's protection. So literally everybody wants her to kill her. Everybody's got a beef with her, and that's one of the gags in the movie. Is it like it'll freeze frame on somebody who's like throwing a knife at her or shooting at her or something, and it'll say name blah grievance blah.
Oh my god, my favorite part of that is when they show Ewan McGregor. And the grievances
has
are
a vagina.
Has a vagina. Voted for Bernie.
Yeah.
Like there's like a whole list of them. It's so great. I love it.
It's like the anti Todd Phillips Joker.
Oh my god. Yes, it is. Thank God.
Yeah, I know. Good Lord. So anyway,
this film is so feminist. I'm so excited. I love it.
It was actually really there's one moment, and I'll bet you know what I'm talking about, that I was moved to tears when fucking Ewan McGregor assaults that woman and makes her like take off her dress and dance on the table.
Yeah, that was horrifying.
Which is the point. I mean, like,
yes, absolutely.
And I think that our audience got it. I didn't hear any like, nervous laughter or tee-heeing. Everyone was kind of like, ugh. And then the singer woman, I don't remember her, the Canary.
Joni Smollett Bell, who's playing Black Canary.
Canary, right. Her character is crying watching it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was like, I'm glad that, it's a horrible thing to watch, but at the same time, it's like, I'm glad somebody is finally getting across the point that this kind of objectification is fucking horrifying.
Yes.
I
mean, listen, and, as I talked about earlier, not all women are for other women, but I mean, it is no coincidence to me that there are so many things that are so incredibly overtly feminist, and it's written by a woman and it's directed by a woman.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm right on your page there, sister.
But that scene was just awful. And then, and it's just
intentionally awful.
Intentionally, absolutely. And it's reified like when Ewan McGregor talks to his army of men, near the climax of the film about, men of Gotham or whatever.
I know. I noticed he says men of Gotham. He doesn't say people of Gotham.
And he's like, put those bitches, those little bitches in their places. And it's clearly a condemnation of toxic masculinity and sexism and misogyny, which is so great.
Yeah. So anyway, they get the diamond for themselves and they give it back to Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Well, wait a minute. You're jumping a lot.
Well, there isn't. What is there to it? It's just a big.
Oh my God, there's so much.
Well, then the Canary. I don't know the comics, and she must do this in the comics. She must actually be able to like kill people with her voice.
Yeah, she has like a sonic boom voice that like blasts people, that can like paralyze them essentially.
Which I guess that Harley Quinn knew that nobody else knew except for the Canary woman. She obviously knew.
Oh, Rosie Perez knew, playing the cop. Yeah, because she knew her mother, who also had the same power.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of the film is, except for Harley Quinn and the little girl Cassandra Cain, who has stolen the diamond, and they're kind of like, that's her sidekick, and I kind of love their friendship, their burgeoning friendship. But a lot of the film are the women separate, and then they come together in like the climax, which I was so excited to see all 5 of them in the same frame. Like, it felt so rewarding. Like it really felt earned. Like all these women have been, egregiously, screwed over by men, horrible, violent men, and they're all coming together to work together as a team to get out alive and to,
And Ewan McGregor's death is one of the most satisfying on-screen deaths I have ever seen. And it looked good, too.
It did look
Usually
good.
When you have that kind of weird...
Right.
So basically, the kid puts a grenade in his pocket. You see the kid, like, take some grenades earlier.
Uh-huh.
And Harley Quinn has one bullet in her gun, and she fires, and she misses. And she's like, oh, shit. And then Harley Quinn says, kid, I'm sorry, because at some point Harley Quinn decides she's going to sell the kid basically back to Ewan McGregor to like not be killed herself.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, interestingly, after she's screwed over by the one person she trusts.
A man.
Yes, a man. Don't trust men. A man.
I mean, you probably shouldn't.
Don't trust them.
I don't even trust me.
I don't trust you either, so... It all works out.
Yeah, you might be a little shady, Evan. But yeah, so after she's, fucked over, then she's like, okay, it's just business. I'm going to sell the kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which she apologizes for.
And yeah, she says to the kid, I'm sorry that I did that to you,
Yeah.
kid. I was really, it was shitty of me. And then the kid's like, oh, Harley, I'm sorry I stole your ring. And she's like, what? And then she holds up the pin from the grenade, which is around her finger. And Harley, the kid like ducks. Harley Quinn kicks Ewan McGregor over this. They're on a pier. Kicks him over the edge toward the water, and then you think, oh, he's going to land in the water and explode. Nope, he explodes on the way down.
Oh, and it's so fucking satisfying. It's great.
And it's just like it just happens and it's over.
Yes,
and it's
done.
like no long drawn out
Nope.
whatever,
Nope.
Jack Nicholson falling off the church
Nope.
in Tim Burton's Batman.
No melodrama, nothing. I love it.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah, it was just
so
kind of
great.
like, that's what you deserve and that's what you get.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things I love about this movie. It is so fun, but I also love that it's making some serious commentaries on, the objectification of women and how, men manipulate women and think they can control them. And it really is, like, I know this is in the title about Harley Quinn's emancipation, but it really is about her standing on her own, because she's continuously told throughout the film, you can't stand on your own 2 feet. You're only the Joker's girl. You're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And she, I also like throughout the film when someone calls her a stupid slut and she like breaks his legs and then she's like, I have a PhD, motherfucker. And like, it's just, it's a funny film, but it's also making some very serious commentaries, which I love.
Yeah.
And I love that we get backstories on each of the women, and it feels like, I don't feel like any of them were shortchanged. I feel like, yes, Harley is, Margot Robbie is the star as Harley, but I feel like each of them do get their due turn, which I really liked. And I liked each of the women individually, and I like them all together. I think they fight well together. They have good banter. It just worked so well.
I do wonder how the Canary, and Harley Quinn for that matter, knew all the fucking awesome fighting moves that they do, because just based on Suicide Squad and this, you don't actually learn how Harley Quinn knows how to fight. And you don't learn how the Canary knows how to fight. It's just like she's a singer and all of a sudden she's fucking kicking the shit out of people.
True. Right. Whereas at least with Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress, she's trained by assassons.
And Rosie Perez is a cop who can fire a gun.
Right,
so,
exactly. And she does like a little bit of fighting.
She does a little bit. She's good.
Yeah, she does a little bit.
I liked seeing Rosie Perez, by the way. That was super cool.
I love Rosie. I'm like, Rosie, I'm so glad you're back, because I've missed you. But yeah, so there are a few things. I've talked about how this is, super feminist, and it is, and I love that, but it's also incredibly queer, which I am so fucking here for, which you're not coming to.
You don't say.
I know.
Interesting.
So, yeah, shocker.
This is new to me.
Shocker, I know. So Rosie Perez, who plays
oh right,
Renee,
I forgot.
She is either a lesbian or bi, because her ex is played by the DA Ali Wong. I love seeing Ali Wong.
Who is very Ali Wong like, I have to say.
Yeah, she is. But yeah, she has a small part and she's great in it. I think so anyway. But also, there are a couple other parts that are incredible. I would say there's 3 other parts that are incredibly queer.
Lay it on me. I'm not sure I saw them.
I'm going to tell you, and I'm so excited to talk about it. So in the beginning of the film is an animated sequence that's giving Harley's background and kind of catching you up on like who she is as a character. And she talks about how she's been heartbroken a few times, and it's like an animated slot machine, and her face is there as well as the face
is there one of them was a woman?
Lovers, and there was a man, and then the other one was a woman.
Oh,
and
see, I missed it.
And I was like, yes, I love it. And then there's also the scene where Huntress shows up on her motorcycle to help out Harley, and I swear to God, I got chills and I gasped, because there was something so queer about that, about like her helping her, and I was just like, oh my God, I don't know if this is overtly queer, I don't know if I'm reading into this, but I was here for it and I loved it, and I want them to have a queer romance.
Yeah, by the way, I'm going to break in there and say that the motorcycle sequence was the best action sequence. That was so fucking awesome.
It was so great.
The motorcycle and the roller skates.
The roller skates, yeah, that was so good.
And that was a great gag too. How
It
she's like, when did she even have time to change her shoes?
I know, that was so funny. And I love how the film is so meta and so self-aware. It's great. My favorite action sequence, and then I have to get back to the third queer thing.
Yes, the third queer thing.
Yes. My favorite action sequence is actually when Harley is in the prison or the jail trying to get Cassandra Cain out, and the sprinklers are going off, so it's all wet, and she has to fight off like 25 inmates, and oh my god, the action was so good in that.
That was good.
Yeah, it was just great. It was so well choreographed. I loved it. Okay, but the
third
queer thing, and again, I could be reading into this. I don't think I am though. So when Harley is shooting the paintball gun or the beanbag gun or whatever kind of gun that is,
I don't know what they're called. Yeah,
I don't either. There are various colors, and sometimes there's glitter.
Oh yeah,
and she walks through smoke, and they're colorful clouds of smoke, and there's like a pinky cloud and a blue cloud, and I'm like, that feels very much like the bi flag to me.
Yep.
And I was like, I think we're being very queer symbolically here. So yeah, I was very excited.
I like how you sang it a little bit there.
See, it got me so excited that I had to take it to Music Town.
Okay.
But yeah.
I was going to say, how queer of you.
I know, right? I love it. But yeah, so I just love it.
It was a good time.
I loved this. I thought this was so much fun. It had depth to it. It had female friendship and camaraderie. I have to say, aside from Wonder Woman, except for the third act of Wonder Woman, which I don't think visually looks great, I think this is the best looking DC film.
Well, I think also what helps is it takes place, a lot of it in the day, which most of them do not.
That is true. That is true.
But also, it's a good-looking movie. And I will also add, Evan, just in case you're wondering, Harley Quinn does get her breakfast sandwich at the end of the movie.
Oh, good.
She does. And
I'm so
and the kid
happy
buys
for
it for
her.
her.
Yes. Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about her hyena because she reunites with her hyena. She got a
Pet hyena named, and she like
Bruce.
I named him Bruce after that hunky Wayne guy.
Oh, speaking of, I forgot about that. There was also, it made me laugh. There was a nice little nod to Suicide Squad too, because in the police
Jai
station,
Courtney?
yeah, there's a wanted poster of Jai Courtney, and Harley's like, "Hey, I know that guy," and it's just like very cute little nice nod. I like that.
And I also kind of like that. Oh, he escaped between that movie and this one.
Yeah,
You know,
so good for you. But this is definitely a film about the birds of prey, the fighting team coming together.
Oh, right, because Harley says that the three of them became, this
Mm-hmm.
this group of do-gooders called the Birds of Prey.
She's like, which I think is a stupid name or a corny name or whatever she says. But yeah. So I'm hoping we get a Birds of Prey film.
Yeah. Well, there's also lots of comments on everybody's names. Like when they
Yes.
learn that she's called Huntress, they're like, oh, that's good. I like that.
I know. And oh my God, there's also a great scene. So the one of the final fights happens in an abandoned carnival, and I love that, like, as she's riding down a slide, Huntress is stabbing someone.
Oh, she's
and they're like,
stabbing that guy.
I just love you, you're so cool.
Yeah.
And then I also love how Huntress is complimenting Black Canary. I'm like, I love your high kicks. And also Huntress is kind of awkward, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, well, she's been learning to fight her whole life. She hasn't had a lot of social interaction.
No, but I love how they compliment each other. It's so cute. I love it.
Yeah.
And this is a minor thing, but I have got to tell you, this was such a big thing for me. When Harley gives when Harley gives Black Canary a hair tie to put her
that
hair
was
back as
awesome.
she's fighting, I'm like, yes!
You were not, like, a lot of people really dug that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Black Canary has all this hair, and there's this very noticeable moment when she's brushing it out of her face, and I'm like, and I just remember thinking like, and then like,
I'm like, she needs a hair tie.
and then like 15 seconds later, Harley Quinn's like, you need a hair tie, and she throws her one. She's like, thanks, and then you see her like kicking some guy in the face while she's wrapping her hair up.
Nice.
And I was just like, that's really well done.
Exactly.
You know?
And I just like a small touch like that. And I also, it reminds me of some of the backlash that the film has gotten because apparently the women aren't dressed sexily enough. Because
you see a lot of midriffs in this movie.
There are
I don't
a lot
know.
of midriffs, but maybe because Harley is wearing like clothes that actually fit her instead of being 5 sizes too small, and it's just like, stupid dudes, go fuck yourself, or whomever. It might not even just be dudes saying it, but whomever's saying it, like, just stop. But anyway,
Yeah, Margot Robbie looks pretty good, in a burlap bag. So.
I just remember like specifically people
there
freaking
was-
out about the Cheese Whiz scene. How she's like in her
But
like
that's
pajamas.
funny.
It's so funny and it's so
And who
realistic.
hasn't, like, yeah.
Exactly.
I have definitely gone to the Ready Whip can and been like, I'm sad, Ready Whip.
right? Like who hasn't done that? Exactly.
Exactly. I'm not for the Cheese Whiz, but I'm down with the Ready Whip.
Yes, because she's sad, and
Yeah.
I like that the film doesn't shy away from the fact that she's going through a breakup and she's sad,
Yeah.
and she finds her own self-worth and the value of friendship and all that good stuff.
And it's definitely a C. So there you go.
Oh,
C.
with that-
As in
I
see
thought
it.
you meant
Yeah.
C grade.
No.
No.
No, we don't
I
do
knew what
letter
you meant.
grades on this
I
motherfucker.
know, that's why I was confused for a moment. Just a moment.
All right. Well, if you have nothing else to say, I don't think I do.
No, I just think this was absolutely delightful, and I was so excited to see this. I hadn't watched any of the trailers, but I was just excited at its inception, that it was happening, and who was behind it. And yeah, I thought this was delightful.
Okay.
So much fun. I loved it.
Well, I think we got to see all 3 movies this week.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
CCC. Love it.
Cool. 3 C's. All right. So then let's wrap up this episode of Spoiler Piece Theater. We have so much fun doing this every week, everybody, and we want to say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted to get in touch with the show for any reason whatsoever, any reason, you could do that in so many ways. You can send us an email, spoilerpiece@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
You could get in touch with us through our phone number.
Through the hotline at 862-21-PEACE.
And you leave us a message and you tell us blah, 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 blah. And then we're like, oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah to you. And then we put it on the show. Or sometimes we don't. But also, if you wanted to find the show itself, you know where to find it. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find the show. We have a website, spoilerpiece.com.
Yep.
We have a Facebook page, Spoiler Piece Theater. We are on Instagram and Twitter as @SpoilerPiece.
Yep.
And I think that's everything. Oh, don't forget to sign up for our Patreon. If you think we're so great that you want to give us money for doing this.
And we hope you do.
Yeah. We're not going to stop you.
No.
So you can go to patreon.com/spoilerpiece. And there are all kinds of things. If you just want to give us a bone each month, that's cool. If you want to give us $5 a month, you get some exclusive audio. You get to vote in polls. If you give us 10 bones, then you get to tell us which movies to watch, which, by the way, a couple of you out there, you're in that
You owe
tier,
us.
and you need to tell us some movies because we're, come on, man. Jeez.
Yeah.
Like you're giving us the big bucks. You know?
You deserve to tell us what to
Yeah,
say.
Yes.
take your rewards, all right? So that's that. And so please do the Patreon if you can. If you can't, that's cool too.
Yeah.
We still love you.
We'll also take a rate and review on your podcast platform of
Oh,
choice.
yes.
And you can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece, and that will take you to your platform so you can leave us a review.
Yes, but spell it peace, Piece, not peace like peace, man. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro. And anyway, my name is Dave Riedel. I write for Salt Lake City Weekly, Orlando Weekly. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and you can follow me on Twitter. I almost said spoiler. Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Dave Sees Movies.
And I'm Megan Kearns. I'm a freelance film critic, editor of Bitch Flicks. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. You can follow me on Twitter at OpinionSWorld and on Instagram at TheOpinionS.
And my name is Evan Crean. I'm editor for The Independent, co-chair of BAFCA, and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. And you can follow me on Twitter and on Letterboxd as Real Recon.
And we will see you next week. Oh, and by the way, we're going to be live, not tweeting. We're going to be live
Podcasting.
live streaming the Oscars through Hot Mic on Sunday at 8 p.m. So please, if you have the time and the inclination, you need to download the Hot Mic app and
Yep, it'll sync with your TV, and then you can hear us comment on the Oscars in real time.
So it's like you're hanging out with us
Yes.
watching the Oscars.
I will be making fun of everything to the point that Evan and Megan will be like, dude, will you just shut the fuck up?
You might see us throwing popcorn at him.
Yeah.
Woo!
So that's it. So we will see you Sunday, we hope, and if not, we'll see you on the next show.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.